Okay, let's move on to the next problem set. In this case, we have a price ceiling, and again, a price ceiling is below the market equilibrium price, and again, the objective is to protect the consumers. So let's see how that works here. So let's first draw, as always, our demand function. So that's 8 minus Q. So it starts at 8, goes down to 8. Our supply function starts at 2 and has a slope of 1. Okay, so again, the equilibrium price is 5 and the equilibrium quantity would be 3. And then again, we still remember from the earlier one that in the market equilibrium, so in the market equilibrium, okay, again the price was 5, equilibrium quantity was 3, and consumer surplus was 4.5, producer surplus was 4.5, so total surplus or welfare was 9. But now we have a price ceiling at 3. Okay, so now at the price ceiling of 3, before we answer the questions, let's quickly go through the analysis. Okay, so the price is 3, the quantity demanded is 5, quantity supplied is only 1. Okay, so again, what's the quantity turned over? So the quantity turned over is only 1. Because what can you do if only 1 is being supplied? When people demand 5, only 1 can be turned over. So now we have to do our welfare analysis. Let's start with the consumer surplus. Okay, so consumer surplus, now that's an interesting case because this rectangle is 4, and then we have on top that little triangle of 0.5. So in this case, consumer surplus is actually still 4.5. So there is no change, but it just illustrates the stupidity of that policy, because even though you wanted to protect the consumers, you didn't. They still get the same consumer surplus. And what about the producer surplus? So the producer surplus is this little triangle here, which is 0.5. So 0.5, which is of course a reduction of 4. So now the total surplus is only 5. But even though normally a price ceiling is intended to help the consumers, well, there's no guarantee that you really do. So you probably would help the consumers if the price floor had been set to 4. Okay, so now let's answer the questions. And of course we still have now a deadweight loss of 4, and of course the entire deadweight loss can be attributed essentially to a loss in consumer surplus, loss in producer surplus, they lose 4, and that's equivalent to the deadweight loss. So the deadweight loss is this area, and yeah, it's the same size. I mean, what we attribute to the deadweight loss, well, part of it used to be consumer surplus and part used to be producer surplus, but when we do the math, the entire area is just as big as the loss in producer surplus. Okay, so now we can answer the questions. What is the quantity demanded at the price of 3, or the quantity demanded, we said, is 5. What is the quantity supplied in the equilibrium? That's 1. What is the quantity turned over? Well, that's only 1. How big is consumer surplus? Well, it's still 4.5. How big is producer surplus? So producer surplus is now only 0.5. How big is total surplus welfare? That's 5. How big is the deadweight loss compared to the market equilibrium? So we drop from 9 to 5, that's 4. So the deadweight loss is 4. Compared to the free market equilibrium, how much consumer surplus do consumers win? Well, they don't win anything, plus minus 0. And compared to the free market equilibrium, how much do producers lose? Well, they lost 4. Because they dropped from 4.5 to 5. Okay, so that shows that there's always a limit. Let's say even if you want to improve consumer surplus with a price ceiling, well, if you overdo it with the price ceiling, there may be no effect, right? Okay, so let's stop here, and in the next video, or the next problem, we'll review again the welfare implications of a tax.